Hello my friends and welcome to another boring Mindustry video. Nah, who am I kidding? Mindustry is always fun, it's just irritating sometimes. And welcome back to another map. And today, we are going to be playing Karst, the second last map in the game that is rated Extreme. So, how difficult can Extreme difficulty be? It's quite simple actually if you manage to explore the area. So let's go through what we have to do in Karst. So first off, similarly to the previous map, we got a problem with power generation. So we're going to build ourselves a few pyrolysis generators since we have some readily available sources of slag, so we can get started with that. Of course, I had to deal with some problems of water going through our pipeline, so we'll just watch out for that. Also, yeah, I know the game already gave us a chemical combustion chamber, and I'm going to leave it up here because we probably need the extra power, and I don't want to sell it just to eventually need the extra power later on. So I'm just playing it safe. I'm keeping the chemical combustion chamber, especially since it's already made for us and it's not going to take up that many resources. Now speaking of resources, first we have to increase our resources as per usual. So since we have enough resources for an eruption drill, we're going to plop it down right on the field of beryllium, right on the ground, and we're going to send it back to our core, because where else are we going to send it? We're not going to use it to get anything else, are we? But once we start placing down the beryllium drill, we have to actually build some air units, and the reason why we want the air units is so that we can go ahead and explore the area as much as we can. We just need tier 1 air units, so we're going to place down an air factory and bring in some silicon and graphite. And speaking of silicon, we also need to improve our silicon production. So once we are done with that, we're going to build ourselves a brand new silicon factory that is down south. And of course, we're going to reroute it back to our core. Now, by this time, you should have your first air units ready, and you can start using your air units to explore the world. Now, you don't need to worry about your defenses, especially for the first wave, since, surprisingly, the waves go up very slowly, aka once every 10 minutes, and you'll be surprised to learn that yeah, there's 2 enemy spawns for the first time, so you do need to take note of that. There isn't just one spawn, and if you don't know that there's a second enemy spawn, that will most likely kill you, and that's probably why this map is extreme, because some people probably didn't catch on to that. So you have time, so just go ahead and explore the whole world if you can. And if you explore properly, you will notice that on the right, you can plot down a core. And what do cores give you? They allow you to store extra resources, and they allow you to build more units. Now the building more units part is the most important thing. So of course, we are going to plot down a regular core, a 3x3 core, so that we can at least get ourselves some brand new units. We can upgrade it to a 4x4 core anytime, but honestly we don't really need to for the entire game. Until after the map, where you definitely need to go to the final world. But that aside, once you're done exploring and building a second core, you'll notice that there's some thorium resources at the top left hand side of the sector where the core resides in. So we are going to mine it using the drill that we have, and we're going to send it directly to our second core. Now, if you notice the position of the enemy spawns, you'll notice that the enemy spawn that's closer to both our bases is actually going to target our second base more. So how do we prevent, it from attacking our resources? Because we definitely know that it's going to go for the base, but we ideally don't want it to affect our pipelines. So the general idea here is, because most of the enemies likes to target intersection blocks like routers or bridges or whatsoever, the best way for you to go about this is to completely avoid them at all costs. So try to build as many straight lines as possible. Don't use any routers or ducts or whatever, just use a regular duct, aka the conveyor belt, and yeah, try to avoid anything else. As for defenses, you'll be surprised it's relatively easy. The sublimate is still our best friend after all this time. Yes, the sublimate still works, even on this insane level threat of a map, sort of. Now, of course, you're going to have to build walls to help you defend your defenses, so go ahead and grab that. And as for the defenses that's actually near your main core, don't worry too much about it because your massive defense, the Afflict, will help you deal with most of the enemies. And for wave 1, the enemies are relatively simple as per usual, so you don't really have to worry about them at all. Now that being said, it'll be better if you can grab more defenses quickly, and of course, what else are you expecting? We're getting more sublimates. Now ideally you want to leave some opening space for two main reasons. One is so that you can build your pipes through the defenses easily without having to go through the walls itself. And second off, we really don't want the enemies to attack our defenses as much as possible, because if they get at the defenses, we are kind of screwed. So I know there's some other people who can build better defenses than this. I know you can make better defenses than this, like, you know, just make the enemy walk through a straight line of defenses onto my walls, like in one of the previous maps, but I didn't do that because that would take too much time for me to think about what's the best way to go about this, so I didn't. But if you guys want to give yourselves a little bit of a challenge, you can go ahead and try to come up with a better defense using just sublimits. But wait, that's not the only defense we're going to go for. For the first time, we are actually going to get units as our defenses, and we're going to get the tier 4 crowd units as our defense. So we can just place down a ship assembler and it will give us a relatively powerful tier 4 units. And the thing about the ship assembler, or rather any assemblers in general, is that they give you powerful units, but all you need to do is just input a few cheap units, and that's it. In our case, we just need to have 4 tier 1 air units and a few beryllium, or rather beryllium blocks, and that's it. But of course you need quite a number of resources to do so, but the resources are relatively simple to get. First off, we need cyananogen, and to produce cyananogen, we need to get slag. And to get slag, we just need to build more slag pipes. So that's about it. We just need to build more slag drills and some archesite drills as well, because archesite produces cyananogen for some reason. And there you go, you now have cyananogen. And if you've done it properly, you should be able to keep your cyananogen synthesizer at 400%, which you need if you want to try and keep your tree at 100% uptime. As for the actual location of the ship assembler, I decided to place it close to the second base because I feel that the second base probably need more defenses than the first base. And I was sort of correct, but that doesn't mean our first base isn't going to get any of the tier 4 ships. We're going to send some of them over when the time comes. So it's for this reason that we are building these ships, that we don't want to send the waves as early as possible. We want to try and drag them out as long as possible. In other words, when the wave is over, don't send any more enemies don't send the next wave just yet. So that we got time to build up some enemies for our defense. And probably need it for the final wave, which has a very strong boss. Now once we're done with that, we can go ahead and build a carbide crucible, and the carbide crucible is very important in giving our defense as well. Defense, especially when it comes to the infinite range missile from a few videos ago, aka the Scathe. Yes, we're going to use it. 1 on our second base and 2 on our main base. Just, you know, just in case. Like, yeah, sure, it's not the most efficient in terms of defense, but hey, it does its job and it's super long range. And you'll notice that at this point we are building a lot of pipelines from the first base to the second base, and that's what I'm talking about. You kind of need these pipelines, and you kind of need to get everything, or rather most of your things, close to your second base, because if you don't, you'll find that well, you don't really have a good space for you that is near your miners, and you also won't be able to find good defense for them. So might as well do 2-in-1. Get your resources and your defense buildings close to your base or your core, and also share the same defenses that you share with your core, so you know you save out on resources. And you probably notice that in the middle of the first and second base, you can actually get a few more resources. For example, you can unlock the phase synthesizer, so you can go ahead and build yourself a phase synthesizer so you can get phase fabric. And yeah, sure, you don't need phase fabric to beat the map, but it'll be nice to have, and you may or may not need it for the final map. I'm not sure, I haven't played the final map yet. but just get it just in case, so that you can unlock everything, which you need the face fabric to unlock all the towers that you need for the final map anyway. And it's not shown in the video, but after the game is over, I got myself a Search Crucible placed at the bottom, just so that I can get some Search Alloy while we can. Now, I've also decided to build myself a few regen towers, and especially a build tower. 2 build towers for the main base, 2 regen projectors at the main base, and 1 of each near the second base, because the enemies will destroy your base constantly, especially for round 7. But of course, we don't really need to up our defenses that much. But even though we still have our tier 4 units to help us defend, it's honestly still not enough. They'll still destroy your defenses nonetheless. And thus, I've decided to build a build tower at a suitable location so that we won't be too bothered by this. And yeah, honestly, that's about it for this map. This entire map is honestly just waiting for you to build as many quells as possible, aka the tier 4 air units. And yeah, that's about it. For the final map though, for the final wave though, there is a specific strategy you should go for. So the strategy that I went for is this. First off, we need to deal with the enemies in the second base. So first off, I gathered all my tier 3 units and made them surround the second base, but don't get them too close, or rather within the range of the circle that the enemy spawn is, because otherwise your units will be obliterated and you just waste your entire all this time. And second off, make sure that they defeat most of the enemies in the second base. Now, don't waste your time and try to defend and prevent all the enemies from going there, because keep in mind, you still need to dedicate some time and resources to how your units regenerate, and also send them to defend the main core, which is going to be obliterated if you don't get your defenses there in time. After you defeat most of the enemies in the second base, just let your defenses back in the second base to deal with the enemies, and you'll be fine. Now, once you dealt with most of the enemies, you should have a unit repair tower built close to the second base. Sorry, the second enemy spawn, which is closer to both the first and second base. So go ahead and place down your unit repair towers, as I did in the video, and send your units all the way to there so that they can heal before you send all of them back to the main area where you need to defend against a tier 5 boss, or rather the Guardian. And the tier 5 boss have a lot of health points, and that's why I decided to go with quells for this map, because they can deal in large numbers relatively huge damage to the boss, especially from afar. And that's why I think it's great about having units as defenses rather than actual defenses for this map. And yeah, once you defeated most, or rather the enemies from the final wave, that's it. The game is over. It's honestly not that difficult. It's pretty simple, but you just need to go with a different kind of defense compared to what you're used to, aka regular towers. You need to go with unit defenses, and or rather your primary defense should be unit defenses. So just coordinate your units properly and you'll do fine. Of course, you can go ahead and build more units if you want to. You can also increase the speed at which your units are built with a second factory or other airship assemblers, but I didn't want to because I want to focus on other resources. But you do you, go ahead and experiment. Heck, if you want to get mech and tank assemblers, then go ahead. I don't see what's wrong with that, but I prefer air ships because it'll be harder for them to it'll be harder for the enemies to target your airships. And but keep in mind, the ground troops, especially the tanks, do offer a lot more DPS. So if you want, mix and match, go ahead and experiment with it. It's going to be tons of fun. And this map is just a matter of, well, saying how much time you're willing to burn. You just need to be patient, and if you're patient, this map is an easy peasy game. And there we go, Karst has been beaten, and now all you have to do is save up a lot of resources so you can get Origin. Because if you look in the tech tree, which is not shown in the video, look at the tech tree and you'll see that Origin is locked until you research essentially everything. So gather all your resources, speed things up, and just, well, buy everything. And once you purchase everything from the tech tree, well, you can go ahead and deal with the final map, which is Origin, but that will be saved for a future video. So until then, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like if you like this video, leave a comment if you have anything else to add, and I'll see you guys in the next video.